I got the cancer real hard. Stick around. We'll talk. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Chemo and Cocktails. I'm your host, Wayne Franklin, and you may know me from some of my films, perhaps from my award-winning music documentary, Revival: The Sam Bush Story, available for rental and purchase on Amazon, or maybe from my adventure docuseries, Ride to Extraordinary, also available for rental or purchase on Amazon. Maybe you know me from my novel, Midlife Mouse, also available for purchase on Amazon. Or maybe you know me from another music documentary, Duke and the King. It was a festival darling, and it's available nowhere, actually, because we didn't want to get sued by the Elvis people. It's a whole thing. Let's not go into it right now. So what is this show? Why Chemo and Cocktails? Well, it's very simple. I have cancer, and I like tiki drinks. Simple as that. So our goal with this show really is deeper than that, though. We want to, or I want to, since my diagnosis, I want to demystify cancer. I see the look of fear in people's eyes. I see what people think when you could just read it on their face when you tell them you have cancer. And there's just no need for that. There's no reason to let this thing own you in that way. And I'm not going to let it own me. So I want you to do the same thing. I want you to join me in taking control over this whole cancer thing. Frankly, I'm going to be irreverent about it because cancer doesn't deserve our reverence. Simple as that. But let's get into this. Let's talk about my journey. Every episode, we're going to go into something about my life, maybe about the cancer journey itself, or maybe just other parts of my life that have been made difficult by the battle with cancer. And then the back half, well, it's the back half of the name. That's where the cocktails come in. We'll get to that later. So let's recap my journey. It is now September, late September even. And back in May, I noticed right here under my chin, just a little tiny pea-sized nodule. And I felt on the other side there wasn't one there, so it wasn't a normal thing. I didn't know. So I kind of kept keeping an eye on it, especially since it was pea-sized, because I don't really care for peas. It was not an actual pea, by the way. That's good news. Then it grew through the months of June and into July, and it was more walnut size. Better, because I do like walnuts. Not an actual walnut, though. Finally, I went to see my doctor, and he told me that it was probably a lymph node. I said, listen, you shut your filthy mouth, because there's not a limp part of my body. I now realize he said lymph node. I thought he said limp, but it was lymph with an H. Maybe he had a lisp. Anyway, so from there, he sent me, well, first he gave me some antibiotics. I took the antibiotics. The lymph node didn't get smaller. It actually got a little bit bigger during that week. So then he sent me for an ultrasound. And this is when I really, really started to worry. This was not something I'd ever really considered before. But fortunately, I found out that they don't just do ultrasounds for pregnancy. And that was a huge relief because I'm pretty sure I've already been through menopause. The ultrasound revealed that my swollen lymph node was actually a swollen lymph node. I forget how much I paid for the obvious to be restated to me, but it wasn't cheap. From there, we went to a CT scan. The CT scan actually gave me some measurements, and in there started mentioning a little bit that it might possibly be the C word. Now, up to that point, nobody said that it was cancer. Nobody even thought it was cancer. Everybody was pretty much shooting down that idea because it wasn't typical of what you would experience. It wasn't hard. It wasn't immovable. It was kind of spongy, maybe, and very movable. But that radiologist who looked at the CT scan kind of put it sounded to me, at least in the wording, on even odds. It's either a reaction to something or it could be a primary site for cancer. Even though the radiologist said that it could be a primary site for cancer, no one at that time still thought that it was. The idea was growing in my head, but I think most people just thought it was going to be something really weird because, it's me. I was then sent to an ENT. The ENT checked it out and immediately sent me for a core needle biopsy. And that's where they use a bigger needle and they kind of get in there and jab that sucker in there and they take core samples, like they're drilling in the Arctic, like an episode from the X-Files or something. Then I started sort of hoping that maybe it was just full of like alien DNA or some kind of black ooze, but no such luck. Just It was just cancer, just plain old cancer, not even one of the good ones. I don't know what the good ones are, but it wasn't one of those. The next step from there was I had what's called an excisional biopsy, where they actually cut me open right across there. You can see I still have sutures in my neck. And they cut out the entire lymph node, so they'd have plenty of tissue for testing. That doesn't get rid of the cancer. This is not like cancers that grow in a tumor, because lymphoma is a bloodborne cancer. It's flowing, it's moving throughout the lymphatic system of your body in the lymphocytes, which are white blood cells. So they didn't get rid of the cancer, but they had plenty of tissue for testing. And we got results back earlier this week that confirmed that it is large B-cell lymphoma. We still don't know the specific subtype, but I should be finding that out in the next couple of days, really. Still waiting for that information. So when I came home from that surgery, I had this tube sticking out of my neck right here to let the wound drain. And all right, I'm going to put a picture up of it, because I did take some pictures. I had to. It was just so odd and a little macabre. So I'm just warning you, big time trigger warning. You're about to see something gross. And so as disgusting as it looks, even with the blood and everything on the bandages around it, it was even worse when I took the bandages away, because it somehow just made it stand out in more stark contrast against my neck. It looked like my neck was smoking a bloody cigarette. It was the craziest thing. I kept expecting it, to grow a face and start telling me to shut up while it watches its stories. But, I kind of missed the neck tube. That's what I affectionately called it, because it was really a great way to gross out the kids. It was fantastic. And you could turn your head one side to the other and just see like the pus and stuff rocking back and forth. It was awesome. Very cool. So anyway, I had that thing for like 24 hours, and then they pulled that out, and then I just had a neck hole for a while. Had to wear bandages on that, but everything's all healing up very nicely now. And swelling's actually going down too, because I had a bit of a turkey neck for a while. So that leads us to where we are today. Today, I transferred to a different hospital system, and there are reasons for that. The main one, and I'll just lay it out, is that the system I'm going to, which is UAB Medical Center here in Birmingham, is one of the top 30 cancer centers in the entire country, and far and away the best cancer center in the state of Alabama, where we live. The other system that I was in is actually at the very bottom of the cancer center rankings in the state of Alabama. So it was a no-brainer. I went from the bottom to the top. I love the doctors that I saw up to this point in the other system, and they did a great job of diagnosing me, and I will go back to them. But cancer is not treated by one doctor. Cancer is treated by an entire health system, because if I spike a fever, I could end up in the hospital. And I need to know that the hospitalists there are at the top of their game, and the on-call doctors are at the top of their game. The nurses know how to treat an oncology patient. I want to know that whenever I get a scan or I go in for infusions, that all these people are the best of the best that I can get here in our area. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic to have such an excellent health center right here, just a few miles from the house. It's quite a blessing. So I'm excited about that. Met with the ENT there today. Within an hour, I had been checked in by a nurse, seen a nurse practitioner, met my ENT, who really didn't even have anything to do, because everything that she would do has already been done. She recommended, referred me up to a hematologist oncologist. I expected that maybe it would be a week before I got to see the oncologist, at least sometime next week, since it's late in the week now. But no, it was within minutes. They had me upstairs and I was meeting with the oncologist. And both the ENT and the oncologist took what seemed to me an extraordinary amount of time to just sit and talk to me. And the ENT is not even making money off my visit. I wasn't even charged for being there. I'm really excited about my oncologist. He is a specialist in lymphoma. 95% of his caseload are lymphoma cases. So this guy lives and breathes this stuff. And you can tell he just really geeks out on his job. And I'm really excited about somebody who's excited about what he does. And he's incredibly knowledgeable, not just about treatment, but about the history of the treatment of lymphoma. So this is a person, he's a kindred soul in that regard, in the way he geeked out about what he does. So now I have surgery in a week. They will, I'll get a chest hole. They'll put a port in that they'll use to deliver chemo. Before then, I had to have a COVID booster, a PET scan, get these sutures out, have an echocardiogram, go for a COVID test, and then the surgery. As soon as that's done, the fun begins. The chemo part of the name of this show will be real. I'm not scared. I'm not nervous. I'm just excited at this point. I'm excited because the prognosis looks really good. I'm excited that this is a fairly common form of cancer that is very, not just treatable, but curable. So hopefully I'll be sitting here a year from now and saying, listen, we got to change the name of this show because chemo ended 9 months ago and I am cancer-free. And that's the goal. But for now, we'll just go through the journey. And I hope you guys will enjoy going through the journey with me because we're going to try to keep this thing light and keep it fun. And speaking of that, I think it might be time to take it to the bar. First, here's your moment of non-spiration. Okay, for this cocktail section of the first episode of Chemo and Cocktails, we have come out to what will eventually be our home tiki bar, Pirate Pip's Polynesian Patio, but right now it's just a patio under our deck. The deck is right up there, so we've still got to put a ceiling in, and I've got a whole big project. I've got tons of things gathering in the garage to get this place finished up, and we will invite you along on that journey because this is hopefully going to be my cancer project if I'm feeling well enough to work on it. I know what you guys are probably thinking. You're probably thinking, are you really going to do a show that is both about cancer and tiki cocktails? But before we get into that, I need to invite our special guest. And this guest comes to us all the way from the house. So up there, over there, whatever. And it's my lovely wife, Kelli. Kelli, come join us. Yay! Sorry, I don't have a live studio audience.
That's quite all right.
Slight height disparity. So I'd like to apologize. This is not our actual bar. This is just a cart we're using, but it'll get us through. But if you're not seeing all of everything, we'll just hold it up higher. All right, so you've been doing a lot of reading about what I should and should not eat.
Yes.
During chemo and this cancer fight. What have they said about fresh fruit and fruit juices?
Any fresh fruit with a peel that I can wash and then cut into is okay.
Okay.
Such as a grapefruit or a lemon or a lime.
Uh-huh.
Berries and things that are difficult to wash are doable, but probably should just be avoided to be on the safe side.
Unless we go frozen or something like
right.
that. Well, the good news is we do have a lime and a grapefruit here. So we're going to start with those. We're going to just mix up some fruit juices and flavors just in hopes that these are things that I will be able to tolerate.
Yes.
As we're going through this fight. So I've got a little bit of a recipe here. So I'm going to pull this up for a little fruit juice mix that we're going to make. All right. And I'm going to let you do the cutting and the prepping because I do this kind of thing all the time. All right. So first we're going to need 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice. So there's your lime. There's your knife. There's your a juicer. We'll put it in this guy right here.
Lime has lost its color.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a faded lime. Now, if you want to measure it, this jigger right here is actually exactly 3/4 of an inch on that shorter top side.
3/4 of an inch?
3/4 of an ounce. Ounces, inches, it's all the same. We should just switch to metric. Squeeze to your heart's content.
Whoop.
Hey, listen, I got cancer. Don't shoot me with that. Take an eye out with that thing.
Try not to.
So, Kelli, what you been doing?
Cleaning and organizing and trying to teach our son something.
So can I do another episode at some point just talking about all the things you've been doing around the house?
Sure.
Okay. Because seriously, it's insane the amount of work that she has been putting into getting this house ready. And flip it over the other way. It juices better. Trust me on this. There you go. Yeah, you do. It won't take all of that half. Usually an average lime is about an ounce of juice. Once you really juice it, squeeze it all out of there. You're getting close, almost there. Look at that. Nicely done.
Pour it into here?
Pour it into there. All right, now we need a 1/2 ounce of grapefruit juice. So I guess we'll just like cut off a section of that guy and squeeze it in there. I don't know. I'll let you handle it the way you want. Is there a right way to slice a grapefruit? I really have no idea.
For these purposes, I don't know. I know how to cut one to eat. So
if you're hearing the exotic sounds of running water and And the wild flora and fauna, what you're actually hearing is our fountain for our pool, because it's right over there. And just a bunch of cicadas, because, you know.
We live in the South.
We live in the South, and they're still active this time of year. How's that coming? Is there a right way to juice a grapefruit?
I don't think so. There is no juicer. Well, there might be.
Well, we used to have a juicer, and we thought,
I need
what
a
would we ever
juicer
use
like
that
that.
for?
I didn't like that thing.
Hey, if you guys have tips on a good juicer for doing things like pineapple, grapefruit, send us some notes. Leave them in the comments or
Did you bring
email
a
us.
towel out here?
I did not, but I will go get one. All right, so next up we're going to do some grapefruit juice.
Okay, how much of that?
We need no pineapple. This is pineapple juice, isn't it? We need 1.5 ounces of pineapple juice. All right, that one is 1.5 ounces on that side. Do you seriously need a towel?
I would kind of like
Have fun.
one,
I'll go
yes.
get you one.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a tiki towel.
Um,
You've done a really nice job of making a mess.
Thanks.
I really want to congratulate you on that. All right, so then I think, and let's see how this is smelling. That's actually pretty nice. Tropical, fruity. Let's add a little bit of spice to this.
Okay.
So we're going to add some falernum.
Falernum.
Yes, falernum. Falernum is, now this kind, there's other kinds you can get. This actually has a little bit of alcohol in it. It's 11% alcohol by volume. But
Is this the stuff I don't like?
no.
Okay.
So this has a little bit of spice to it.
All right. How much of this?
Just want you to give it.
That's nice.
Okay, so we want 1/4 of an ounce of this. So if you're going to make any drinks that have falernum in them, I highly recommend the John D. Taylor Velvet Falernum.
That's a little bit more than half.
We'll be all right. We'll survive.
Okay.
I bought some other stuff from certain brands that are fairly cheap and available on Amazon. They are swill. They will ruin your drinks. Just saying.
Trust
All right.
him.
Trust me. All right. We also want to add a little bit of maraschino liqueur. So this has a little bit of alcohol in it as well.
Okay.
We're talking about 25% alcohol by volume. But once again, we're just adding a tiny amount. We want 3/4 of an ounce of that.
So about the same amount that I
So
put in for the
this guy right here.
full.
Yep.
Okay.
So we get a little sweetness, a little cherry. A lot of tiki drinks, it's all about this balance between sour and sweet and strong and weak. But, you know, right now we're just kind of making a lightly alcoholic
Lightly alcoholic.
fruit drink. That's what we're going to call this, a fruit drink. How about some grenadine? Let's
Okay.
put, we need 1/4 teaspoon of grenadine. That teaspoon right there is exactly 1/4.
And grenadine. Did I
Right
just
here.
have-
This guy right here.
Move the cup slightly closer to me, please.
This cup?
Yes.
Absolutely. Put it over here in all your mess.
Thanks. Shut up.
All right. Now, we're going to add some PERNOD. Do you know what PERNOD is?
Not really.
Okay, PERNOD is what was made when absinthe was made
Oh, right.
illegal
Yes,
and banned in most places because of the wormwood driving people crazy. So PERNOD is very similar. I want you to just give this a little bit of just a little whiff.
Okay. Oh, licorice.
It is. It's an aniseed liqueur.
No man.
All right, Cooper, our cameraman, I'm gonna let him have a little sniff of that.
Yeah, he didn't
It's
like
like
it
a
either.
big bottle of black licorice. Now, I want to point out, I've made a lot of drinks with this stuff, but I'll show you how little of it we use. The level is still right there.
It's just to
So,
the neck of the bottle.
We're going to use half of that little measuring spoon.
Oh my Lanta.
It's 6 drops, so it really is just a little of this stuff goes a long way. All right. So, and then I think a couple of dashes of bitters because we've added a lot of sweet things.
Okay.
Things that have a sweet flavor profile. And a dash is just boop, boop.
Okay.
2 of those. Another thing that a little goes a long way.
All right.
Use the Angostura because, you know, it's the best. Now, give that a little sniff, see what you think.
Not bad.
I mean, does it smell like something that a chemo patient might want to drink?
Maybe.
I don't know. It feels like it's missing something. All right, you know what? It is missing something. It's missing some of that and some of that and
Rum.
some of this. All right, so we are going to add. This is where it gets fun because we are making a 1956 zombie. All right, we're going to start off with some Lemon Heart and Sons 151 Demerara rum. That's 151 proof.
Woo.
This, we're going to want 1 ounce of that. So it is the top side of this one right here will work. Another good 151 Demerara. There's only a couple on the market. There's one by Hamilton that's very good. Lemon Heart and Sons is by far my favorite, though. Just that caramel
Yeah, very caramelly.
nose. Oh, so good. So good. All right, and
Next.
we're also going to add a Jamaican rum. I'm going with the Appleton Estate Signature Blend. I often use this or the Appleton 12-year or Smith & Cross, which is another really funky Jamaican rum, but this is what I had out at the moment, so I can't go wrong with Appleton. All right, so
How
we're
much
going
of
to want 1 ounce of the Jamaican.
So the top
Yep,
side of this?
same amount.
I'll hold it this way.
Okay.
Don't want to drop your rum.
No, do not do that. And when it comes to Jamaican rums, this one is really, the Appleton Signature Blend is available everywhere, and it's fairly affordable. I highly recommend it. And then for the Puerto Rican rum, we're going to do some Bacardi 8-year.
Okay.
Love this rum as well.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. That's
Ooh.
It's got a nice nose, too. All right, we want 1 1/4 ounces of that one. So, might want to use the fancy jigger on this one.
Right there.
Yeah. So where's 1 1/4 on this guy? 1 ounce. So, right between the 3rd and 4th lines.
Okay.
And it's marked on the inside as well. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
A little too much.
What am I going to do with all that? Should I just drink it down to the right line?
Take a sip.
1, 2, 3. Okay, so we need to get it down to there. I can get it there. A little more, a little more. I think it's right at the right.
Give me that.
Okay. Oh, that's a good sipping rum. I've never sipped that before. That's nice. All right. So, put the Bacardi over there, not too close to the edge. All right, now. So this drink, Donn Beach, the guy who created the famous Donn the Beachcomber, who was sort of the father of the whole tiki drink movement. He first invented the zombie in the 1930s, but he constantly tinkered with his recipes, and this was the 1956 version from his Hawaiian restaurants. During the war, or right after the war, his wife took over his business during World War II, and then they divorced shortly thereafter, and she retained control of the restaurant chain. So she had restaurants and bars all over the country, and he was only allowed to operate outside the continental United States, and at that time, Hawaii was not a state, so he took up residence there and opened up his own places in Hawaii.
Wow.
This is the version of the zombie from 1956 at his restaurant in Hawaii. All right, so now we are going to add 4 ounces of crushed ice. So, I don't know, we got about like 10 or 12 ounces in that.
It's solidified in here.
Yeah, well, that happens. At least it's not that warm out here. It's actually fairly nice to be shooting in an outside bar.
So 2 of those lines.
Yeah, just make an educated guess. And typically you would mix this in a blender, blend it at high speed for 5 seconds. I don't have a blender out here, so we're going to shake this one. You okay with that?
Yes.
And now we will break out the zombie glass, which these are also called chimney glasses. This is a great one that was designed by Jeff Granito, of Jeff Granito Art. And it's sort of a tiki homage to the stretching room portraits in the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland and Disney World. So I'm a big fan of these. All right, and we will fill the rest of the glass with some ice. There we go. Need a straw. Let's use one of our bamboo straws, shall we? A little more ice. All right, and we're supposed to garnish this with a mint sprig, but I like to give it a little something extra. I actually just bought a new mint plant, which is right over there, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. We'll just use one of these somewhat flattened, pre-packaged. It's just, it doesn't make for good presentation. That's the downside of this. All these little pre-packaged things of mint are nice, but your mint is very flat and not very photogenic. You may know what I'm talking about. Anyway. All right, so sprig of mint, but I like to add one more little thing, and that's a couple of Luxardo cherries, because it just complements the maraschino liqueur that we put in there. So these are extremely rich. Have you had one of these?
Yes.
They're so delicious.
Why is the jar so low?
The jar is so low because our cameraman likes to snack on my $27 jar of cherries. Doesn't he?
He's grinning right now. I think that means yes.
All right. But let me tell you, once you've had Luxardo cherries, you won't bother with any of this other cheap garbage that's out there. They're so good. So pricey, but so good. Ha ha. There we go. All right. We've made a mess. And we've also made a 1956 zombie. Now, Kelly, do you know why I decided... tasty. You want a sip?
No thanks.
You should have a sip.
No thanks.
Come on. You've never tried one of my zombies.
Yes, because I get drunk smelling it.
Just one tiny little sip is all you got to do. I just want to see your reaction to this.
Sweet Lord have mercy.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, so the reason we decided to go with the zombie, or I decided to go with the zombie, is because I thought it fits the theme of the day. We're talking about my lymphoma in this first episode of my diagnosis. And what lymphoma is white blood cells, also known as lymphocytes,
yes,
that are inside your lymphatic system. They typically have a lifespan. They are created by your lymph nodes. They live, they fight infection, they die. Sometimes you start getting abnormal ones that don't die off. And it keeps creating more, and then this abnormal type of cell multiplies.
Yes.
And they start filling up, make you swell up in a lymph node, for example. That's what cancer is. So they should be dead, but they're not, like a zombie. So here's to all those zombie white cells I'm about to kill for good. Let's take this back inside. Okay, I'm back in the office. Got my zombie. That was fun, but Kelly admitted to me afterwards that she hated the drink. So I don't think she's going to be joining me on my tiki obsession. Listen, before we sign off, I just wanted to thank all of you guys for watching this. I have been a little more nervous than I expected about doing this episode because, frankly, I didn't know, I still don't know if anybody's going to care to watch this or not. I mean, it's a weird idea. I think sometimes the way I deal with this whole cancer diagnosis, it takes people aback a little bit because I am rather irreverent about it, and I do want to keep it lighthearted. I want to, whenever possible, laugh about it. You know, cancer jokes are going to be happening with me. It's just the way it is. It's the way I deal with life, and I also just think life is too short to be taken seriously, as I've said before, and but I also feel like I've been given an opportunity here. I've been given a chance to show people that this doesn't have to be scary, that you don't have to sit around and, wring your hands and worry and cry and believe that your life is over just because you have a disease. It's not over. It's not. I mean, the news that I've gotten is that this is probably going to be very curable. 3 or 4 months from now, we'll be done with this. I mean, it'll be over for me, and I can just continue on with my life, and I'll be cancer survivor Wayne Franklin from that point forward. For other people, the diagnosis is a little more dire. I mean, my mother died from this stuff, but it doesn't have to mean you stop living. You know what I mean? It's not about whether you live or die, but how you live or die, and that's what's really important. So that's my goal here is I want to take away the fear. I want to demystify this whole thing. And then along the way, we might educate each other a little bit on what it's like to live with cancer, what it's like to fight cancer, what it's like to go through chemo, and how to keep it light and fun and still enjoy your life in the process, because that's my goal. That's what I want to do. I don't want this thing to rule me, but if it gives me a platform to share a little bit of who I am, then fine. I'm going to take advantage of that. So I hope you guys enjoy what we've done here today. I think I should wrap it up by saying that the only way to defeat hate is with love. The only way to defeat evil is with good. The only way to defeat darkness is with light. The only way to defeat sadness is with joy. And to me, the only way to defeat fear is with faith. So there's going to be a touch of that too, a touch of my faith, because I really do believe that there is a God above who has his hand on me through all of this. And I hope that you will see just a little bit of him in me, in the way I live through this fight. And I hope you'll stick around and join me and bring some light to the darkness. Take care and cheers. I came home and I had this. Stand by. No, don't want to do that joke. No. No.